You have returned to the precincts of the Dharma, and we are studying such great things as Chidabhasa, how Brahman, or divine reality, God, however you want to call it, reflects in the universe, even in nature, and of course in all of our various component parts of our three bodies, our mind being the subtle body and our physical body being the gross body. And we're also looking at a great principle called the Mahat. And as we've looked at the Mahat, we've had to entertain some teachings about prana, the life force, about tattvas, the cosmic principles which consciousness uses, identifies with, hopefully maybe just associates with and gives up as it needs to. And tanmatras are the subtle elements out of which the gross elements came. It's not just a matter of, oh, well, there's God, he was the creator, and everything came from him. There's a lot of missing information in that statement. Because God, number one, isn't a creator in Vedanta tradition. The mind is the creator. So that immediately releases God from all the problems that the mind projects. It's a very wise move to make, to think that way. As keep Brahman sacrosanct, pure, ever pure, and indivisible, birthless, deathless, acreate, as Vivekananda would say. Then simultaneously also fills in all the gaps of our thinking process in these different states, from formlessness into deep sleep, from deep sleep into visionary, from visionary into dreaming, and right on down to the waking state, as consciousness mans the tattvas and gives them up every 24 hours. It does it in a great way when it does it over a lifetime, and even a greater way when it does it over cycles of time. And that's what we ended up talking about in a problematic way, how these waking and dreaming states, or if you want to call the usage of these four sets of five, which are Samkhya Yoga's way of explaining our subtle and gross body and their conjunctions, get utilized by consciousness, or poorly utilized in the case of identification again, where this high-minded being full of intelligence and whose essence is consciousness all of a sudden thinks himself to be a gross body consisting of five elements, and even its senses get so outward going as to only seek pleasure and shun pain, and that becomes its whole round of life. It's been described in many ways by the seers of India throughout time. And so Buddhism and Vedanta particularly, they have that little rub on them. You know, my teacher used to sometimes say that when he'd give us the teachings of death and so forth. He said, well, sorry for the negative teachings, but you need to get them first, you see. Because here in the West, we need to get shocked. We need a little slap in the face. We need some cold water splashed over our eyes and face, and so that we wake up to not only our predicament of habit in mundane human convention and its ways, which are robbing us of our higher spiritual awareness, and then also live dharmic or divine lives and be able to get in and out of the body, or take on and abandon the tattvas as we need to. So this whole cross-section of this saguna part of Brahman, the with qualities part of reality, is very apropos to study for this day and time. It's not Advaitic, it's not non-dual, and it's not even the higher wisdom of samadhis and those kinds of things which you'll get in other classes, but as far as the anthropomorphic side of things, how form operates, how it evolves, how it's taken on and abandoned by consciousness, very important parts of this get reminded to our mind when we study this. And all under the pervasive overseership of the Trinity, as you can see appearing next, which we would call the Mahat, if you will. A good correlation could be made to that and to words like the word Om, which actually I've put a little more of a backdrop behind the Trinity, is this word. And a great part of this has to do with Divine Mother reality, which just like prana sort of escaped most religions of the world. She escaped mention and cognizance of. One chant we chant, Te Dhyan Yoga Nugato Pasyan Devatma Shaktim. See, Devatma Shaktim, she's the Shakti, the goddess herself, you see. Svagunayar Nagudam, Svagunayar, who is beyond the gunas, yet uses the gunas. Yaha Karanani Nikilani Tani, Kalatma Yuktanya Adidishtat Yekaha. So the ancient seers of India, practicing the yoga of meditation, Dhyan yoga, espied her, the Devatma Shakti, existing in everything, pervading everything. And though she was covered by all things, the tattvas of her own design, she was nevertheless one and indivisible. The covering didn't affect her intrinsic cohesiveness, her homogeneity. Although she was covered by things, nevertheless she was one and indivisible, and she had been incomprehensible to them earlier, before they practiced the yoga of meditation, due to the limitations of the buddhi. So when you took on the buddhi, you should have said, "Oh, thank you, Mother," rather than saying, "This intelligence is mine." You see? Thank you, Mother, for this intelligence with which you craft the three worlds, and which also makes up my three bodies to inhabit the three worlds, and all the levels of consciousness that go with them. So her trinity falls under that. I used to say that this triple force, which we try not to call creation, preservation, and destruction anymore, we want to put a Vedantic monikers on that say projection, sustenance, and withdrawal, because the Advaita Vedanta tells us that you can't create something out of nothing, and you can't destroy something that was never created. And that pertains to not only nature, which is in seeds that can't be destroyed, but your consciousness, which is indestructible. Krishna told you so. Akshar Brahma, it's indestructible. So wherever you look, there's nothing but consciousness that's in one indivisible state, unaffected by everything that happens from the Mahat down. So this is how you put Advaita, how you lead up to Advaita, by teaching Vishishta Dvaita, or even Dvaita. So you lead up to it. You can't just say it and think people are going to get it, because they've got all these gaps in their consciousness. The connections aren't being made. And to jump to the highest step of the stairs, Sri Ramakrishna says, is very hard. If you're at the lower step and you try and take a flying leap up there, well, maybe a good high jumper might make it. But even a good high jumper will never be aware of what the middle steps were like. He saw the bottom step, and he saw it was made of lime dust and cement. And when he jumped to the highest step, he saw it was made of the same thing. But all the steps in between, he didn't know what they were made of. They could have been wood, or they could have been any other material. So Sri Ramakrishna is saying all these steps in the middle that lead you from earth up to Mahat and beyond have to be accounted for. And I think that's a missing element. Just like Swamiji was saying, prana, tanmatras, and unmanifested prakriti, what are you talking about? Well, first of all, I don't believe you, because I don't believe in anything other than the physical, you see. And second of all, even if I were to give you the benefit of the doubt and look into it, I don't know, and I don't have in my past lifetimes, leaving way far back, anything that was taught to me called Dharma as a Western person. I used to say that's like, walls and echoes. You see, hello, you see, hello. If there's a wall out there, something will come back. Or you can say, hello, nothing comes back, then there's no wall out there. So we don't have any walls for prana. We don't have any walls for tanmatras. We don't have any walls for unmanifested prakriti. So we call out into the emptiness, and there's emptiness, and so we end up with emptiness. We're nihilists. Matter is empty too, not even by the Buddhists, but the scientists have found this out. Empty of any substance. It's vibrating particles changing at a billionth of a second and so forth. So if a person has knowledge of the Adi Vidya Daiva, they have walls. They call out Mahat. He says, yes, what do you want? See? Or it calls out, hello, Buddhi, are you there? Yeah, I'm here. You got to develop me a bit, but I'm here. See? Oh, I have intelligence, you see. And so from the, I was saying, call them projection, sustenance, withdrawal, because that's there. But I used to say that these three are held in the two hands of her. See, and when you see projection, sustenance, and withdrawal going around in cycles, with millions of souls coming and going in and out of name and form through endless phases of time and space, all endless and beginningless, then you have to say that's a tempest in a teapot. Because if she closes her hands and withdraws them, which she does at the end of ages, there's nothing there except her. And she says, at the end of these ages, I myself withdraw and merge into Brahman. So it sounds like Shamakrishna hit it, the nail on the head when he said, Brahman and Shakti are one and the same, like fire in its heat, like water in its wetness, like snow in its whiteness, could go on to say. So this is the import of the Mahat, but of a penultimate kind, because you still have to meet her and the word. Her and her word, I would say. The word has been mentioned in some traditions. We hear about it in Christendom and Judaism, some, and in Sufism and so forth. But who assigns it to her? I'd like to know. You see, India assigns it to her. She's the purveyor of the word. She's the progenitress of the word. She's the holder of the word. And so these are levels you're getting into which are more causal and formless. She's formless dynamism. So this chart extends itself a bit beyond the four states of consciousness, which is an Advaitic teaching, and adds in the visionary state and adds in formless dynamism to accommodate the existence of the most subtle of all. Anaranian, Maha Anaranian. She's the subtlemost of the subtle. She's subtler than the Mahat and the Trinity. And so I don't, just like in the first half, I didn't want to necessarily turn the class into Samkhya Yoga. I don't want to turn this into a Shakti Advaita class either. But to bring these all together and show them reminds the mind of how much is going on inside of this Chidabhasa title of this class, how everything is reflected consciousness, like who's doing the reflecting and what's it reflecting off of, and what is the substance of the reflection, and what's the result of the reflection, and how can I benefit from the reflection, and how can I take the reflection back or follow it to its source. These are all wise questions. And that all equals the truth for you. And truth will set you free if you hear it. This weekend we're going to do a retreat called Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, which are the three pillars of Advaita Vedanta, sometimes called the three proofs of truth. To hear the truth, to roll it over in your mind, and to realize it. So, to roll it over in your mind, Manana, is probably the most expansive one of those three. To hear it, you're going to need some good fortune and auspiciousness to find your way to someone who can speak it. To realize it, you know, it's all a matter of, are you ready and will you do it? But to roll it over in your mind, this is going to take time, and there's a lot to roll over. So the benefit of the classes today in Vedanta, these kinds of classes, are that they're filling in the gaps for you. They're going to show you in no uncertain terms what you're overlooking in your own makeup. Who you are. You can't just say, who am I, and expect the Atman to stand forward in blazing light. You would probably better be asked, what am I not? What am I not? See? And then when you got rid of what you're not, the who would then stand forward in blazing light. See? You can't ask who until you know not what. You see? What, where, when, and why have to go away, and then who, the fifth W, will make sense. What is space, and when is time, and or where is space, and when is time, and what is objects, and why is cause and effect. See, a karma that flummoxes your mind all the time. So you never get around to saying I am instead of who am I. And before that you were asking what? Why me? See, you were suffering. You know, why me? Why me? And then you made a little shift and heard some Dharma, and you said, "Oh, I say, who am I then?" And then you realized it, Nididasa, and you said, I am. You see, now we're getting somewhere. And now you have to bring it, Shatsatkara, back into the full circle of things. There's actually a fourth teaching beyond the three, which there usually is. So here we have this Trinity. You see, like sometimes you can even sing to them in even other ways. If you call them Ishvara, or if you call them Mahat and so forth, as we've been saying. Tava nama sadashuva sadhakahe patita danama nava pavakahe mahimata vagochara shudhane Guru Deva Dayakara Dina Dane Jaya Sadguru Ishvara Prabhakahe Bhavaroga Vikara Vinashakahe Manayena Rahitarva Shri Charane Guru Deva Dayakara Dina Jane. In this beautiful hymn of 8 verses by one of Sri Ramakrishna's devotees, he sings, Lord, thy holy name uplifts and brings enlightenment to all beings. Thy name even purifies the lowly and the falling ones. But thy glories are revealed only to those with pure minds. O divine teacher, kindly bestow compassion to thy humble devotee. So, saves everyone. The fallen, the lowly, even brings the light of Chidabhasa into their lives in various ways. See, saint to sinner alike, the sun shines, they say. But those with pure minds, they realize your glories. The Dharma are your glories, you see, the teachings, things that transport the mind into higher. That's one of our founders' favorite words, transported. My mind got transported into higher consciousness. So you want to find a way to catapult that mind. Get a little catapult in there and crank it up and, just put your mind in it like a boulder and shoot it off into the ethers. How can I do that? And wake up my consciousness. Live in that state of higher awareness, inspired all the time by everything I see, taste, touch, hear, and smell, which was down here. So how to do that? He goes on to say, victory to thee, O illumined teacher. So the Mahat here is the great teacher of all, the Trimurti, who is the leader of our souls, the one who destroys the effect of the disease of worldliness. May my mind remain steadily fixed on thy holy feet of sanctuary. O teacher divine, kindly shower compassion on thy humble servant. So all 8 of these verses end with that same refrain. Guru Deva Dayakara Dina Jane. Dina is friend. See? So the eternal friend of my soul, shower your compassion upon me and reveal the essence of these teachings. Then I won't have to rely on the reflection of Brahman in the universe. I'll see everything as Brahman. There will be no doubt. I won't have to go by faint reflections or distant glares. It'll all be the light of my own consciousness manifested before me. And pretty soon I'll realize that the sun never stops shining. It's not a matter of a planet getting in the way of it or of clouds coming over it. That it doesn't rise and set, as they say. It's always shining full on. That's the sun of the Mahat. You see. So there I've assigned my own moniker, you see, visionary state. So the traditional teaching is waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and turiya. But I provided for the visionary state because in dreaming, there is a higher level of dream which we go into, in which one gets visions. Now, if you're a Sufi and you concentrate on dream, and you go to your sheikh or your sheikh, and you tell them your dream, then they'll tell you these meanings of these high dreams. So you really accent that level, the visionary state of your dreams. The benefit of that will be that you'll consider your dreams to be signposts and actually more real than you used to think of them. It's just imaginations that your society told you, or your psychologist, or your parents. They actually become the kingdoms of heaven within, which is a name of a series I'm going to give soon. Your mind is the kingdom of heavens within. So making that connection in English is going to be helpful for us. So visionary state is an important level to account for. And if your consciousness is more attuned, then basically you will remember your visitations to these higher states of awareness, visionary state, because you're forgetting a lot of them. So like I said, just like you had a lot of imbecilic dreams before you woke up, so you'll think you're a fool. So, oh, I have no chance, here. What am I doing in Vedanta or Buddhism or some of these higher philosophies? And go back to fundamentalism or something, or atheism. So, but just like you had imbecilic dreams, and those are just a product of your lower waking consciousness in the collective mind of humanity on Earth, you also have these higher visions in your dreams that you don't necessarily remember after you wake up. Too bad you remember the imbecilic ones and don't remember the visionary ones, but that's a matter of waking your consciousness up inside, opening the Jnana Chakshu, or your third eye, or the white dove ascending, or the front door to Brahman, various ways in which they say that. So, visionary state, very important. You might be asking why I assigned Rajas to that, because I'm talking about cosmological here more than because you see Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva could be all mixed in here too. Like Sattva could be enjoying with your senses, various things of objects. That could be a kind of Sattva, and they say you have to transcend that and go beyond the three gunas. But this designation up the side means that these beings are projecting, they're powerful. They have a divine Rajas to them. And that's why they can presto-changeo, prestidigitation, cause these appearances called worlds of time and name and form and time and space to appear before billions and billions of minds and withdraw them too. And just like here, they will happen in 24 hours. 24,000 years is nothing, in the realm of the Mahat, to project and withdraw a world. So the gods and goddesses below them are waking and dreaming and breathing in and breathing out inside of a very short time too. Very long time to our worlds, but very short time to the participant of time in that particular loka or that particular state. So I wanted to bring that out, and I wanted to bring out the visionary state. Now the deep sleep state happens just at this level of line or demarcation, causal form, I'm calling it, into formless dynamism. And you can see this curtain of nescience here, and pure intelligence, as if these swirls of light around the Divine Mother, are penetrating to a certain extent, and are made of pure intelligence. So that's this buddhi at a higher level, at the Mahat level. You could say the Mahat is the cosmic mind, but it has a very powerful intelligence that was given to it by Mother. And how do we know that? Because she gave them seed words like Om and Hrim and others, with which to speak with the mind. Of course, this would be speaking with the mind, and then causing these worlds to form. Just like, you could drop a pebble, Swamiji says, into a clear puddle and then see these waves go out, hit the shore, and come back. You see, evolution, involution, all from dropping this pebble. So in a way, they're dropping these pebbles of words into the quiet consciousness of potential living beings, causing vibration there. And then these worlds are forming out of consciousness, out of intelligence, and living their life and then evolving back into their source again. And if you know the Prakriti, you know how that happens through the tattvas. But if you know Purusha, you know who's making it happen. So you know both sides of it. See? So therefore you get teachings like na asat vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sataha. Ubayor api drissantos to anayos tattva darshibihi, Krishna says in the Gita. The unreal never is. The real never ceases to be. The truth about both has been known by the seers. So drishantos and tattva darshibihi, right? To see the tattvas. So they've seen the tattvas, tattva darshibihi, and they've seen that they're unreal. They see that they're insentient. So they've known the truth of the unreal. But who's been the seer that's known that? See? So that therefore they've concluded that the unreal never really exists. The real never ceases to be. And myself never ceases to be. The non-self, it comes and goes, doesn't it, in cycles, which you will be made more aware of on earth if you know why you're here. Reminds me of Holy Mother saying, and she heard someone talk about having fun in life, and she said, oh, having fun. You see, there's none of my devotees, none of my children or the children of Sri Ramakrishna have come here to have fun. We know how important it is to get a human body. So she's inferring to use the human body to know, like the original divine wisdom would be a good thing to know, and then to utilize it for the benefit of other beings. You might want to use it to get back to the source once or twice, instead of getting caught in samsara 100 times. If just once you return to the source in your meditation or in your lifetime, then you become a candidate for walking up and down the amber stairs of birth and death, as Sri Aurobindo said. And you can do that again. How many times has Dalai Lama done it, and Karmapa done it, and so forth, in Tibetan Buddhism? These incarnate bodhisattvas. So they must have come up and down that many times and gotten so versed at it and so versatile at it that now it's just like a walk in the park. See? But do you see them having fun here? So they're here for a divine purpose, to waken other people up to this original divine wisdom, and that is specifically from Bharat, Mahabharat. There's the word, Mahabharat, the great India, Sanatana Dharma, the great teachings that have never forgotten themselves through all these many, many, many cycles, and who are lodged in the minds of the Trimurti due to her keeping them there, and are lodged in turn by the gurus, in the minds of the gurus here, by them keeping them here. So we think of Sri Ramakrishna, and we think of Chaitanya, and we think of Shankara, and we think of Buddha, and we think of Jesus, and we think of Krishna and Ram back, these Ishvara forms that all come out of the Trinity. And therefore remind our mind in every lifetime of the eternal nature of this wisdom. And that is the one thing that destroys ignorance. Nahi gyanena sudrishyam pavitramiha vidyate. Tat svayam yoga samsiddhaha kalenatmani vindate. It's the knowledge of the Atman that remains. And it's the greatest purifier. Ignorance needs a purifier. Knowledge is that purifier. So the the great souls avail themselves of that. And if they have to give it to you as lower knowledge, they'll give it to you as in the Dvaita form. If they have to take you up a step, pull you up by the bootstraps or the collar, they'll give it to you as Vishishtadvaita, qualified non-dualism. And when you're ready, they'll give you the full course of Advaita Vedanta. That's where you say, I am. Where who am I gets its answer finally. So this leads us then in, as we'll probably finish this very wonderful chart, this leads us to the very borders of Saguna Brahman. The gunas are beginning to lose their predominance. You see here, they're in abeyance. So we're going into the realm of unmanifested prakriti as far as the tattvas are concerned. But as far as we are concerned, we're going into Turiya. We're going beyond the visionary into the deep sleep state, into Turiya. And I mentioned the curtain of nescience that's still there. It actually, you know, you could extend it all the way down to earth and have it get fatter and thicker, like these grunties. These lines are meant to be the three grunties. Actually, they're the Maha Grantis, if you want to use that word again. Brahma Granti, Vishnu Granti, Rudra Granti. This is a Kundalini Yoga edition here, because those three Grantis keep souls from graduating into higher levels of the consciousness. So ancestors and human beings are up against this thick veil. The curtain of nescience at a thicker state of itself. Very hard to penetrate that, because you'd have to lose your desire for rebirth, which means you would have had to have satisfied your desires somehow. And therefore you wouldn't need parents to come in to take a body so that you could satisfy more desires, which could be like adding gas to flames if you're not careful. So, you know, how do you penetrate the Brahma Granti? Through love of God. If you can increase your love of God, then pious beings can penetrate that. They can go around it, you see, and find little alleyways through it. The wind, if it can't blow through a wall, try and blow around it or under it, it'll finally go over it. So they find a way and make their way into the visionary state and into the deep sleep state, where the seeds for everything are visible to them. Visible with what? With a single eye, with the Jnana Chakshu. So, same thing here. If you penetrate causal form, like you might see unmanifested prakritis, most subtle level, and then you would get into the Turiya state, fourth. You'd be beyond A, U, and M, and you'd be at the level of the Shvara, the little one-eyed smile, I like to call it, in this Om. You see, one-eyed smile. And so this signifies our four states of our consciousness. The fourth not even really being a state at all. It's really the thing in itself. And what's beyond it, Turiyatita, which we probably won't speak about today, and in a sense can't speak about. Hard enough to speak about this. But you can see that by taking teachings out of Shaivism and Kundalini Yoga and other great systems, you can put a curtain of nescience over this that gets thinner and thinner. You know, but don't mistake me, since it gets thinner and thinner doesn't mean it's easier to penetrate. That makes it harder to penetrate. Just like, think about your early life here and how you came to the Dharma and how you never got the Dharma before you met your teacher. Wasn't that pretty hard? See, you were lost in darkness, spiritually speaking. You didn't know anything. And then all of a sudden you awoke into these higher, some good graces brought you to some path or some teacher, and that teacher reminded you of your own knowledge, and that adhered, you see, and you begin to make connections and make steps along the path. See? So just in that way, using that as an analogy, you could see how hard it would be to see through subtle barriers. It would be very easy to stay in deep sleep and keep a causal body. And there are beings who love this, who keep a causal body here so they can control it. They're called prakriti layas. they've dissolved everything, Laya, but they still have the seeds of Prakriti. And out of seeds of Prakriti, they can fashion all of this in their own mind. They're little Lord Brahmas. And Lord Brahma doesn't like this, I would say. See, are you trying to usurp me? I'm the great projector. Your castle's going to fall apart, you see. Your cloud castle in the sky, I'm going to destroy it, Shiva says. You should come to the original mansion, where all my Father's rooms are real, full of light, full of consciousness, full of intelligence, and not superimposed by some desire to enjoy the gross in a subtle state. Like living in your dreams as if that's going to be fulfilling, you see. So, just a side mention here of the limitation of causal form and a barrier there called Vishnu Granti, maintained, you might say, by Lord Vishnu, which is very hard to penetrate through because it's subtle. So if you were to use wisdom as the great purifier, this curtain of nescience would open and let you in. And pure intelligence, of course, there is placed there for that reason. That's Buddhi with a capital B you're talking about. That's Lord Buddha right there, you see, who penetrated the realm of the ancestors and showed us how to do it, and then said, I'm not coming back again. I'll send my emissaries, have no hope for me, for these worlds forevermore. I'm gone and gone forever. Jesus could have been that same soul, or at least taken on the same perspective. We're still waiting for 2,000 years. He's either showed up 3 or 4 times already, or he's not coming back. He actually exists ever in the Word. And John found that out, and a few other disciples, so they're seeking him there. They're not seeking him on earth. Very, very unlikely he is going to come to earth. If he does, will I be there when he does? Or will I be dead, or will I be asleep, or will I be ignorant, or will I be unable to recognize him? There's so many risks. But the riskless state is to seek Jesus within you, because the kingdoms of heaven themselves are within you. And he presides over the kingdoms of heaven. Find the best garden, find the owner. As Sri Ramakrishna said, there's 4 gardens in a city, you only have an hour, you want to see the best one, call the owner. What's your best garden? So there you are, spending a beautiful hour of your existence, which is a yuga, you might say, in a higher state with Jesus or Buddha or Ramakrishna. So meet the Mahashakti here. See, she's ready to greet you. She's actually been waiting for you. She's planted that intelligence within you, so you will transmigrate back to her, not transmigrate back to the worlds. You're going to want to give up the tattvas, if not one by one, all at once, and transcend mind. So you can see how important it is to know what you're dealing with. Then you can transcend it. Otherwise, you're trying to meditate it away. What's that? Oh, gee, what's that? Something comes at you out of nowhere. You don't know where it came from, what it consists of, what it is, what its purpose is, how to use it. So you have to avail yourself of this, because you're the consciousness that projected it. You're the son of the Trinity. You're the daughter of the Trinity. I am that thou art. And of course, when they mean that, they mean higher than the Trinity, because you must go beyond the Trinity to get to the Word, and beyond the Word to get to the Atman. And Divine Mother is, like I just said there, Mahashakti. There's the Maha, there's the Mahat, but there's the Mahashakti, at a much finer level of awareness. Very difficult. The yogis meditate on her upon her in dark mountain caves for years and years, just to get a slight glimmering or vision of her. So all of this has been spoken of, I think. Haven't read the quotes yet. We'll leave those to the end. However, here it might be good to take this middle quote. Higher than the personal God is the infinite supreme Brahman, who is concealed in all beings, according to their bodies, and who, though remaining single, envelops the whole universe. Knowing that, to be the Lord, one becomes immortal. a beautiful quote out of the Svetashvatara Upanishad. And a direct indication that to go beyond the personal, to get to the impersonal, is desired by these high rishis. And they become knowers of non-dual reality. Doesn't mean all this goes away and they can't cherish and relish form, but they have made that distinct move, which has penetrated through the higher granthis and gotten to a formless state where they saw their essence as being formless. Because, basically you have the realm of Brahma, Brahmaloka, and then you have Vaikuntha, and you have Shiva's realm, Kailash. See, so basically you have these three great worlds inside that are the highest worlds. You might say that's where you'll find the Mahats, most subtle, most sattvic, most pure worlds. And many beings tend to stay there. I've heard Brahmaloka described as living on a hut on a sunny beach with the ocean there, and every morning you get up go out to the ocean, you jump in, and you spend the whole day in the ocean. And at night you come back and get into your hut. I know when we were in our 20s and 30s, we surfed here in Hawaii a lot. And some of us would spend all day in the water if the waves were good and the conditions right. We wouldn't even come out. And when they invented cords to your boards, if you lost your board you wiped out on a wave, you see, and lost your board, you'd have to swim in, so your feet would touch the sand for a few minutes. You'd jump right back in. But when they had cords, you didn't have to anymore. You could stay in the water. Eventually, we're looking down and seeing if our feet had turned to fins, But in that way, these beings in high meditation, in these high levels, will stay in the water of Brahman all day, but they're not ready to give up their subtlest form yet, their causal form. They're, as it were, teetering. And Sri Ramakrishna said that Narendra, Swami Vivekananda, was the highest rishi of that seventh realm who helped beings give up that hut on the beach, you see, and go into the ocean of Brahman for the last time. Like Shankara said, a hailstone entered the ocean, that was it. So it doesn't crystallize anymore. This is crystallization. You can put it in terms of tattvas, or you can put it in terms of states, or you can put it in terms of gunas or bodies. You see? And you need to. Because this is what your operations are right now. See? And the operations of a realized soul are much different. They're at war with everything from here on down. And their operations are intelligent, you see. They're going to find out different ways to talk you out of this. If you have attachment to it particularly, if you're associating with it, attenuating it, they'll attenuate it in you. You sure you're okay? See, have you reached the formless Brahman yet? Have you seen the light? And I'm not talking about just selecting your personal savior, because that happens right about here. But I'm talking about getting to the Father through the Son, realizing your true nature, giving up birds' nests and holes that birds and foxes stay in. You see, no matter how high those houses may be, like Lord Buddha saying, "Oh, architect of Maya, I've now seen you, now I'm going to give up making homes in you. I'm not going to make houses anymore made of wood or stone. I'm not going to make houses anymore made of flesh and bone. See? I'm not going to make houses anymore made of wise conception." See? So he's talking about giving up making any form from here on down. See? And if he does, it'll be with purest intelligence. You can be damn sure of that. So Mahashakti, enter her realm, and you've entered the realm of pure intelligence where the gunas are in abeyance, and you're in the realm of formless dynamism. It really needs to be provided for, because we really haven't, most religions haven't provided for Divine Mother reality. And even in India, she's escaped mention in a lot of the darshanas. The seers knew her, but they didn't necessarily put her into their systems. We have one mention of her in yoga, Chit Shakti, in Patanjali's yoga in 140 AD. And so she's at the very depths of his system. Is when you meet the Chit Shakti, is when you have gained mastery of everything. Then she'll show herself to you, you see. So she's very important in yoga. And in Tantra we'll find her, in Kundalini Yoga and so forth. We know our own teacher wrote a book called Mother of the Buddhas to make us aware that the mother principle was very important in Buddhism. And so in Vedanta we know Swami Vivekananda and Sri Ramakrishna came with Holy Mother and brought this higher tantric element into this new Vedantic movement, so that now, and we know that both Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda were very interested in the regeneration of women in the world today, not just as bodies and as, at the level of emotional and political freedom and all of that, but so that they know who they came from and that the Divine Mother lives in them as Shakti. And they can remake their whole lives via that much faster than they can through politics or cosmetics or something. So if you can reach that inner self, which is really genderless, you're talking about something that's genderless, but the Divine Mother has her own following of souls who attend upon her realm. We talk about Brahmaloka and Kailash and Vaikuntha. Here you talk about Mani Dvipa. In the Mother Scriptures, Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, it's called the Jewel Island of Essence, where she resides. And very beautiful descriptions of that. Some of the seers that visited that and the surprises that awaited them there. So, formless dynamism, Turiya, gunas and abeyance, what could you say about this? I tried to put it on the chart, you see, on an 8x11 and expand it. And so not a lot to say about it, but you can see how we are talking about something that's Purusha and beyond, the sentient soul and self, or something that's more equal to Atman, or better yet, Paramatman, the Supreme Self. Because the Atman can identify with grosser things and can associate with them, take on 5 sheaths, you remember, and therefore play in them and sport in them, okay, fine. But it also cannot do that. And it can even do it partially. Oh, I think I'll just identify with the Anandamaya Kosha, you see, and I'll teach from that place. I'll become an ecstatic seer, you see. And I'll just be dancing and singing. Sound familiar? So, and giving out the highest teaching. So, really a lot of facility there, a lot of versatility in their usage of consciousness. But they're very careful about what they'll call Atman, what they'll call the pure thing, as Kapila was. He wanted to make this very strong line between the two principles. These are two eternal principles. That's one of the gifts of Samkhya philosophy, is that he doesn't consider Prakriti non-eternal like Maya. Of course, Maya is considered eternal too, but he's making a twofold offering here. It's just that one's sentient and one isn't. That fact alone would save a lot of people here and now if they were able to withdraw from the insentient. Like people who are hoping or feeling, emotionally wise, that there's some mystery in nature, when the only mystery in nature is that light that comes from Purusha. And so you're off on a wrong tangent, you see. I mean, that can give rise to anything from medicine to healing herbs. There's some magic potion out there that's going to help you. Well, what kind of help are you seeking? Healing of the body only? Or do you need to heal something else inside of you? The best kind of healing would be knowledge. That would show you that you're always healthy. It's basically the way to put it. I never was sick. The body got sick, but I never did. Who does that sound like? Father of yoga, Patanjali. Never say the body's sick. Just say, never say I'm sick. Say the body got sick. So identify with your eternally perfect, inherent, healthy self, you see. And in that way, cut to the chase. So the only thing really left to do here that I haven't explained completely as we draw to a close is these three beautiful quotes, two of them from Sri Ramakrishna, all three from Sri Ramakrishna. So here at the level of, because Sri Ramakrishna was a lover of formlessness and he loved form. You know the bell fruit story where he says, I have to weigh the whole bell fruit to get the proper rate. Some people will just weigh the flesh. So they'll take out the stem, they'll take the peeling off, they'll cut it in half, take the seeds out of it, and the core away from it, and then they'll just take the flesh and weigh it. Well, that would be like the Advaitist, philosophically speaking. Well, I just want the essence, non-dual essence. But he says, I really can't be that way. If I want to know God fully, I need to know the weight of the whole fruit. So I'll weigh the stem, the skin, the pulp, and everything, along with the flesh, and then I'll know what God is. So he really is a all-comprehensive great master that he's called, because his end evaluation wasn't neti-neti, it was iti-iti, if you want to put it in that more tantric way, and Vedantic way. He said he wanted to know the whole thing, which would mean knowing all of the tattvas, if you want to put it in that way. He talked Sankhya in the Gospel quite often. So I bring that up in terms of these two quotes. What the Bhakta feels at the level they're on. Level is kind of a wrong word to use. At the state of experience they want, it might be. And then what the Jnani is acclimatized to and desirous of. So for the Bhakta, Sri Ramakrishna said, the Bhakta feels that God is one entity and the world is another. Well, it's not completely wrong, is it? See? Therefore, God reveals himself to him as a person. So you get to the farthest of the sun, but you spend a little time with the sun, seems like. There are beings that want to camp out, as it were, in the realm of Ishvara, like with the Trinity. And when Ram has the Om sign painted on his hand, he's saying, you've come as far as the Word, and I'm the last form you'll see. But he might also go like this, you see. Well, you're actually qualified to go into the formless, if you like. You see, you can go beyond the Word. Because the Word is all about beginnings, middles, and ends, origins. But Brahman has no origin, and neither do you. You're originless. You're unoriginated. It's the best English word we can have for the Advaitic term of ajati, or non-origination. That's one of the highest teachings you can get in Vedanta from Gaudapada. Let's see what the Jnani feels. The Jnani, through his discrimination, realizes that the ego and the universe are both illusory and perceives Brahman in his own consciousness. So he's taken another nadi, a different direction, more towards, you might say, his first realization of the formless essence, out of which he may come down and sport with it. The Bhakta may sate himself or herself here, and then become qualified for the highest realization and get the formless. Chaitanya was famous for that, you see. He was loving, dancing, singing, everyone loved him. Then he went looking for an Advaita teacher. Just blew everyone out of the water in his village. He's gone. Where'd he go? He took an Advaita teacher in the city. But then the Advaita teacher evidently gave him this mantra and said, don't say this to anyone, it's a secret. The minute he was out of the teacher's house, he was in the street shouting out the mantra in the street to people. You want to know how to be free, you see. So very Sri Ramakrishna-like and Krishna-like and so forth. So this isn't meant to be levels of better or worse. It's not meant to gradate things like this is in order to pose one as being higher or lower than the other. It's just a matter of one's consciousness in any given lifetime, or maybe those who want to be free of lifetimes. The real teaching is make sure you're free of lifetimes and ignorance. Then play in the fields of the Lord as much as you want, in any form that suits you, because these are all subtle forms and causal forms that you're playing in. And one day, as Sri Ramakrishna said, you might want to taste sugar, but another day you might want to be sugar. So depends on what divine mood comes upon you and where it takes you. So it's a very versatile teaching. It has Advaita stamped all over it to me, the true Advaita, which is all comprehensive and all containing. All right, so we've reached the end of our time. Let's take this final beautiful chant or sloka or saying by Sri Ramakrishna out of the Gospel at top. He says, "Do you know what God with form is like? Like bubbles rising on an expanse of water, various divine forms are seen to rise out of the great akasha of consciousness. The incarnation of God is one of those forms. The primal Shakti sports through the incarnation." A real good wrap-up for this whole thing. Primal Shakti sporting through the forms, using the power of the word and intelligence, and reflecting itself in everything in the universe, right on down to the element Earth, all the 24 cosmic principles. So I hope these two classes have both informed you and whetted your appetite for knowing more about the Mahat, for becoming more adept at seeing Brahman's light everywhere, and for filling in those gaps in your thinking process and your consciousness that have to do with prana, tanmatras, and unmanifested prakriti, the great Adi Daiva Vidya, the great eternal divine wisdom. Here, let's end with a chant. Om Bhadram Karnebhihi Sriniyamadevaha Bhadram Pasyema Akshabirya Jatraha Stirairangayeshtushtuvam Tanuvir Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indra Vrida Shravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwadevaha Swasti nastarksho arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspatir Dalatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we see with these eyes what is good and spiritual. May we hear with these ears what is noble and uplifting. And may we, while worshiping the Lord and the Mother of the universe, with healthy minds and bodies, live a life which is beneficial to ourselves and to all other beings. Om peace, peace, peace. May peace be unto us, may peace be unto all. Om Hari Om.